What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Emporium's Flashback Reviews, where I take a movie from my past, maybe your past, break it down, and kind of just talk to you guys about it. If you like what you see, as always, remember to rate, subscribe, check me out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, email nlapolo113@gmail.com, all that good stuff. It's that time of year. Halloween's coming out, the new one. So basically the sequel, disregarding everything else, of the original Halloween. Laurie Strode's been crazy, so on and so forth. We're going to talk about the original Halloween, the John Carpenter classic, my favorite horror film of all time, outside of a little movie that we'll talk about on Halloween. So the story is Michael Myers, Nick Castle, who played him in the original and is going to play him in the sequel, escapes from a mental institution. He killed his family back in the past, and he's now stalking and killing people on Halloween in Haddonfield, Illinois. The movie stars Donald Pleasence, Jamie Lee Curtis in her first role, and P.J. Souls, and some other people, famous actors and actresses in the movie. But it's basically Michael Myers terrorizing this small town during Halloween, and that's the basis of the story. But what makes this movie interesting and fantastic is not only is it a horror slasher film, but it's a unique horror slasher film. It's like the original horror slasher film. It takes a character called the Shape. It was originally Michael Myers originally called the Shape until I think the second movie when he's actually called Michael Myers. And he's almost like an unstoppable force. He's attacking these babysitters and he's attacking these people. The police, they don't know what to do about it. We have the Donald Pleasence character who plays Loomis. He's trying to explain to him that this guy is no ordinary person. He's like an anarchy of evil. But I don't know. There's a lot of horror films that have come out. There's always going to be a lot of horror films come out. But John Carpenter took an idea, a story, and he did this with The Thing when he remade The Thing. He's done this with Escape from New York. And he's created a tense, interesting, dynamic horror film. Yes, it has your slasher films. Yes, it has your killings. Yes, it has this and that. Your typical what you see in slasher films and horror films now. But this movie is it's incredible on the budget it has. It's incredible what John Carpenter was doing with the shots. You don't really see Michael Myers all that much until maybe the very end. He's hidden in the shadows. You see him in far shots. And he makes an interesting villain because you really don't know anything about him. You know about Freddy Krueger. You know what he's done. You know about Jason Voorhees. You know what he's done, and so on and so forth. Well, Michael Myers is just this normal kid that went crazy and killed his sister, and that's what makes it unique. That's what makes it interesting because he's just a normal dude that just went nuts, and he just seems to be an anarchy evil. And then they kind of went on in later movies with making him Laurie Strode's brother, which in essence doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that's here or there. Now they're kind of retconning everything, but John Carpenter has proven time and time again how much of a visionary he is, how he can make something so banal, turn it so tense, and just make you cringe in horror and uniqueness and ideology. Just the tone and the depth to it, and just having Michael Myers just like stalk these people and figure out ways to kill them. And like even the deaths in the movie, there's not many. I think there's like 3 people that die in the movie, and it's not really seen. Like you see him take the knife to the guy, the boyfriend, and you don't ever see him stab him, but you just see his feet dangle. And that's what's unique about this. The horrifying elements, which were unfortunately played out worse and worse as the things went along, are just simple here. That's what makes it an effective horror film. It's simple. It's nothing intense about it. I mean, it's intense in the sense of it's kind of like the Terminator when Michael Myers is chasing after Laurie Strode, and the Terminator's chasing after Sarah Connor. It's that type of thing. He's almost like a Terminator, but he's just like, I don't know. He's just killing people for the sake of killing people. He's insane, and that's what makes Michael Myers such a fascinating villain. And then you have Jamie Lee Curtis in her first role as Laurie Strode, and she defined the Scream Queen, which later turned into other people and so on and so forth. And she's pretty awesome here. Her mother, Jamie Janet Leigh, who you might remember from Psycho, died like in the first 20 minutes of the movie. She just exudes a interesting character. She's doesn't have a huge amount of depth, but what she does well. She defines that terror. She defines like she's just there to babysit. She's just a simple character, and she just finds a way to deep inside of her exude that. So, and I also enjoy the look of this movie. Like I said, some of the most interesting thing is when I went to Universal Studios. And this is kind of side knowledge or whatever, but they talk about how they would use leaves because they filmed in the middle of the summer, and they would have the leaves blowing, and then they would bag up all the leaves and then redo the shots. And the movie is filmed out in California, but it takes place in Haddonfield, Illinois, which is also an interesting place to take place. Because a lot of horror films take place in Ohio, which is where I'm from, which is kind of interesting, or they take place out in California or Mexico or, all these places, but they never take place in stuff like Illinois. That's what makes it fascinating. Like I said, that even with a low budget, John Carpenter just does something unique. And it can't be understated how good Donald Pleasence is in this movie as Sam Loomis. He's a guy that knows Michael Myers to his core. And then when he tries to get the police to understand, it's kind of like in Gremlins when, Billy Peltzer is trying to explain to the police that these gremlins are taking things to a new level and they're attacking the city, and they don't believe them until things actually happen. It's the same thing here. Babysitters basically have to die, or young people have to die before the police will actually do anything. And when the Shape or Michael Myers finally attacks these people, the police finally go in force, but they don't know where to find him. But Sam Loomis does, and that's what makes Donald Pleasence's character so unique, because he's a force trying to get this guy back into custody or kill him. And Donald Pleasence just never gets a lot of love. It's always about Jamie Lee Curtis or Michael Myers, but Sam Loomis is almost like the backbone of the movie. He's the guy that you want to see destroy Michael Myers, and he almost does in the second movie. But here, he's almost like the guy is trying to explain to him that the wolf that he's crying about is a real thing and not a fake thing. So overall, this movie is it's one of the best pure horror films. You don't get a lot of these movies today. A lot of them are cheap and uninspired and, offensive and just boring and PG-13. But this is like a true gritty horror film. This is what John Carpenter did best, and what I wish would go back to. And thank God in the sequel, he's now involved with the music and producing, and he has a much realigned take, thanks to also Danny McBride and David Gordon Green and Jamie Lee Curtis coming back. As far as a movie like the 1978 version of Halloween, to me, there's no other special horror film that does what it does and what it does well, and that's what makes it a great film. So, but that's it. That's my long take on the 1978 Halloween. Kind of funny that the next one's called Halloween. There was a big joke running. It's like, if any movie has a number after it, you gotta disregard that. It's got to be called Halloween to make any sense, but whatever. So, as always, if you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check me out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. If you've seen Halloween, let me know in the comments below. I would really be interested to see what you think is the best horror film. I think this is the best horror film. That's just me. And of course, I can't wait for the sequel, which I'm seeing soon. But anyways, that's it. We'll see you guys later. Peace.